with the presentation. In the topic that I just already mentioned, technology convergence, and also some maybe development thinking, some mindset thinking that we should actually apply in our future development goals and innovation goals. Then we'll followed by Axel, who stands right next to me on a radiology topic. Nazila and Alfredo already mentioned that they will talk a little bit about AI used in different imaging modalities. And then we have two distinguished lecturers from the Technical University of Munich. And then at the end of the day, we'll ramp it up. For each one of these presentations, we like to actually do it about 10 minutes in total. So 10 to 15 minutes in total, and maybe have about 2 minutes left for question and answers at the end. If we're not completely on time, I think you will excuse us on this one, but I will try, at least from my end, and maybe Alfredo too, to make you aware, when we actually approaching the time limit, so that you think a little bit about finishing up. But again, don't worry too much if you will exceed by 1 or 2 minutes. Having said that, you probably will exceed by 1 or 2 minutes. So, go back, make it a little faster, or just skip some things that maybe not as necessary. Okay. Before I start, are there any questions from the audience right now? I don't hear anything. In this case, I'll start with my presentation. So as said before, you will be a little disappointed when you read the title, because you may actually think it's a little too superficial and maybe too far away from augmentation and too far away from actually using AI in the context of surgery. But I hope that it will actually give you some aspects of thinking that are important for creating tools, devices, ideas, innovations with a future horizon, not only with an incremental innovation step, but maybe with something a little further than that. I want to also address some fear and opportunities of having these double or triple exponential technologies and developments work together. I think we are actually at the starting point. And I think one of the things, and I say that before I go to the next slides, one of the things that will probably work extremely well, especially also for surgery applications, is not AI. It's not robotics. It's not sensors. It's the combination of all of these three. So the convergence of these three technologies will actually probably develop dramatically faster and push that whole field away from where it is right now to spheres. I don't want to use the Star Trek synonym, but to areas that we just can't even imagine at the moment. So I want to start a little bit by going to the old topic. You may have seen some of these slides, and that's why I want to go somewhat quickly over them. But what we're doing in healthcare right now is we have a fee-for-service procedure. So when you get sick, you go to the doctor. When you have something to be treated in a surgery, you go to the surgeon. And we actually allow certain chronic diseases to actually develop. So rather than, trying to put some efforts beforehand and trying to avoid these diseases from happening, we are actually getting really good at treating these diseases. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that, but we should also put some maybe effort before that. Why are we not doing this? This is a big question. And the main reason for that is that there is no business model behind it, that the business model health is based on a fee per service. So when you're sick, you get treated, the doctor gets paid, the pharmacy gets paid, the hospital gets paid. They don't get paid if you don't get sick. So there's a thinking process that may actually stimulate some form of different business models. And, while you may think that will not happen in the next 5, 10, 15 years, I may actually argue the other way. I believe that
you are muted, Michael. I think that you pressed a button.
I did not press anything.
Okay? Now yes.
How far do I have to go back?
5 seconds.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, no, I didn't press anything. So anyway, I don't want to go back. I think it's a slide that explains it for itself. It's what is the cost associated with treating diseases, and how will that develop in the next few years? That will go up, and it will go up because there's many other reasons behind that. We get older. We want to get older, and that's a good thing. And actually, healthcare has a tendency of actually getting more expensive, more complicated, and with that, more expensive. So is that something we can actually afford in the future? Please ask yourself that question. So, Axel, next slide. Okay, I have some, not that I do some, oh, I didn't. So actually I did some of this, I explained already in this slide, but what I want you to really focus on is we have risk and behavior patterns on the left side. If we would be able to actually pitch into this one and maybe solve some of the issues here on the left side, we would be able to actually reduce some of the chronic conditions that are directly related to that significantly. And these chronic decisions are responsible for 80% of the total healthcare costs in the world. Think about this, 80% of the total healthcare costs. So investing a little bit on the left side would actually reduce significantly the right side. Cost reduction is normally not a very good business proposal. People don't like it that much, particularly people who are in that business. But if you really think that money that we could save there, we could invest in some other areas, personalization, prediction, prevention, prolonged health, I think that would be very beneficial to everyone. This is a very busy slide, so don't look too much at it. I just wanted to kind of like point out there is certain individual patterns and determinants, and healthcare, the quality of the healthcare, the quality of the surgery is actually to a very little extent responsible for the well-being of the person. There's a lot of other aspects. And we have also, you see that on the right side, healthcare 2025 or 30, we'll have a lot of things that we want to implement: precision medicine, value-based medicine, patient-centric medicine. But at the end of the day, as mentioned before, only 15% of the quality of the healthcare as we do it right now is actually, you know, a qualifying determinant for how well you're doing. And there's a lot of unresolved health challenges that we will not address with this kind of model. And again, this is the purpose of my talk, is to use technology to maybe actually implement them in applying, solutions, of getting solutions up for these unresolved health issues. We want to live longer. We want to live healthy longer. We have an inequality. Healthcare in Southern Sudan is significantly different than in the US or in Europe, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of issues that we need to deal with. And we not only have to make healthcare a little better as it is right now, we have to rethink some of these ideas. So we need to kill the sick care system as we have right now. We have an increased life expectancy. We have also, and that's a very, very important message, we have increased life expectancy, but at the same time, we have actually increased the duration of dying as well. It takes longer for us to die. We are longer sick before we die. So we need to do something that is a very different thinking process. We need to make the lifespan equal to the health span. These are buzzwords I'm throwing out. I don't have necessarily a solution for that either. But if we don't think about this, we'll never get it. We'll never get it done. So, and then another aspect that I'm very, very interested in, and maybe hopefully you are as well, is the idea of a One Health concept. So we need to not only do healthcare so it gets better for the patient, but we need to also consider the sustainability effects, the effects that it has on this planet. We also need to take care of the health of the planet. CO2 is a bad word and is a bad message for the planet. And we're killing animal, we're killing plant life, and we're actually shifting wealth from the south to the north. And there was really not a lot in the south to begin with. So for me, it's very important that whatever we do in healthcare innovation also has a sustainability effect and is not at the same time, while improving the lifespan and the health span, killing the planet on it. That would be not a very good idea. Okay, I have a little bit worked on a concept that's called focus of 5P medicine: prevention, prediction, personalization, precision medicine, participation of the individual, and as a 5th P, prolonged health. And I think that personal health is a lifelong and complicated process, and we need to start very early with that. And I think I'll go down to the bottom very quickly. We need to start monitoring whatever our health is, not only when we're sick, but all the time. And this kind of monitoring also comes with technology. So technology will help us significantly actually to work on that and increase the data gathering and the usage of data for the betterment of our personal health and for maybe improving the life expectancy and equaling the health span to the lifespan. there's a lot of technologies out there that have to do with healthcare. Some of them, which are on this chart, you may believe have nothing to do with healthcare. I believe they do. Self-driving cars, while obviously not directly related to healthcare, will probably reduce the amount of deadly accidents in general, alcohol, truck-related accidents. That has an effect, believe it or not, on the amount of organ transplants that are available. If we don't have any more traffic accidents, we have no more organs to transplant. I mean, it may not be obvious to everyone, but that is what happens. And so we need to find other solutions for that. And there is maybe 3D printing, organ printing, all these kind of things coming up that will possibly help us to achieve some of these goals. There's lots of technologies out there. I have here now like 30 technologies that are kind of like the technology of the next decade. When you actually apply this technology to healthcare, you will see that there's completely new things developing. So there is computational biology that will create some drugs. Genetic engineering will actually be helpful for analyzing your individual body, your activity level, how you deal with bacteria, how you deal with food. All these kind of things will actually, be implemented into healthcare. And you know what happens on top of that? There will be a convergence. So if you take one technology, it will do a certain effect. But if you add 2 or 3 or more technologies to certain fields, you will actually develop now completely different segments and areas of development, research, and future activities. Synthetic biology, just to name a couple. And they will be incredibly important. It will not only be working with the clinical problems, it will be working with problems that are in the social environment that have an effect on the health. And I think technology, to me, is a big solution provider. This is also very small. It's from my recent book. I'm hopeful that some of you have actually bought that book. What I did on this one, and I think that was the key message on this one, is I analyzed what are the cost reduction possibilities of certain technologies, and do they lead to disruption? Disruption meaning, do we get something, either completely new business models out of it, or do we actually do things now completely different than we did before with the same or better results? And there's a lot of technologies, and you will find out that disruption potential is almost the same than significant cost reduction potential. So if you are able to significantly reduce certain health delivery technologies, you will be able to disrupt, because then they come with new business models. I think that's the important message. And what I want to say with this message is please don't only focus on getting things better. Reducing costs dramatically will have possibly a much bigger effect on disruption and a much bigger effect on solving some of these challenges in the future than just a simple technological improvement will have. So what needs to happen? I believe that we need to change that business model health, and making something significantly cheaper and moving to prevention and home care will probably be something that will help this shift. It will also help to address these challenges with inequalities, will health span and lifespan equality. So all these things, I believe, will be addressed by having a different business model. I'm very actively working on addressing these kind of issues and trying to find these different business models. I would like to point out a couple of things that I've seen. I stole those. I don't even know exactly where I stole those, but this is a little bit addressing the fears, and then I will also finish up with my talk. You see that there is some value propositions using certain social technologies, right? There is TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's like giving everybody a voice, connect with. These are the positive things that are associated with it. The real problem with that is there is a big monster of other things behind it that nobody actually knew and anticipated would happen. So what we see now is addictive behavior. And I mean, look at yourself. I'm constantly on this cell phone. I'm constantly touching it and feeling it and need to have a look at it. And that comes with mental health issues, with censorship, speech. We even know all these issues with Twitter. So all these disinformation, big thing. We can't even handle anymore. Don't even know what is is that information now correct? Is it not? Is it fake? Is it real? So all these issues were not foreseeable at the time that we started with these positive value propositions that are at the bottom left. What happens to other things that we need to consider when we have a look at convergence? We have a look at augmentation. We have a look at these technologies. it doesn't get simpler. It gets typically more complex. We need to make sure that we have diversity issues addressed, that technology is safe, that it's equitable, that it considers, society also from a wealth or poorness point of view, that is not being abusive. And what are the global implications? Those are some of the things that we really need to address, and we also need to address with our AI. ChatGPT, big thing, right? Everybody uses it these days, and I think we will not ever be living without it anymore. These really generative large language multimodal networks are there and are there to stay and are there to be exploited. Look again at the bottom left. Those are the positive aspects of it. AI will make us more efficient, etc., etc., etc. This is the value proposition for using it. But just like with the social technologies, that's why I use this bigger, there is a big sucker in there, which kind of like sucks you in, and it's unpredictable of how it will go. And there on the top, there are these issues that will be addressed and that we don't even foresee at the moment. So please use that also, this information, as a checklist point. Are we actually doing something that is creepy, that is non-transparent? And we need to address these issues. So another fears that I want to address is, what are the society implications? I typically ask my students, can we actually, who would like to be 120 or 200 years? I'm typically the only one who raises their hands because the other ones cannot imagine that yet. But if you really think about, let's assume we would be 120 or 200 on average. What are the society implications for that? Can we actually afford to become that old? Can we start working at 65? Probably not. What are the implications for families? What are the implications for work environments? Those are all very interesting aspects that we need to consider and that we need to think about it. Are we going to get bored when we live that long? So anyway, I think that's my summary now. Health-adjusted life expectancy will be significantly improving. There's a guy called Ray Kurzweil. Some of you may know him. He's a big futurist. He used to be the vice president for innovation at Google. And he said, and by the way, he has been right with about 80% of his predictions in the last 30 years. And he said the first person that is actually will die with an age of 300 is already born. I'm just leaving that as a statement here, as a statement that nobody can prove at the moment. But, think about what that means, right? Data collection will improve, and we will actually have probably a biology-driven innovation in healthcare. And I really, really believe that there's exciting technologies that we need to be careful, but I would definitely focus on embracing technology, embracing the futures. So we need to be open to technologies. We need to consider global markets, ethics guidelines. We need to be forward, and we need to invest in education, education, education. I'm saying that because whatever we do right now in education on the medical school side, on the engineering school side, is not future oriented. It's present oriented, and it has a lot of past information built in, but the future aspect is very rarely seen in these study programs. Okay, these are the last ones, and then I'll just show you a kind of like book things. What we need to do, and what I would like you guys to think about, is second order thinking. So what you are doing, what kind of effect would that have in time increments, for example, in 5 days, in a month, in a year, in 5 years, in 10? What does that mean? What would that actually lead to? Think about in giant steps rather than in linear steps. I mean, to reach giant steps, you need to take linear steps, but it's very important to think about this way and have some form of an exponential thinking methodology attached to your own work. What we use as humans, we have actually worked linear for a very long time, and we're not used to think exponential, what the effects are. And try to work in an interdisciplinary setup. There is something called the Medici effect that will happen by that. Is breakthrough innovations will only happen if you put people from different areas together in one room that are completely differently, have a different thinking idea. And that's where really cool things come out. Okay, those are the books I recommend if anybody's interested. I'm very mean. I put my own book in the top middle one. I hope you apologize a little bit. The advertisement is allowed. And other than that, all these ones are really cool for, at least thinking a little differently. All right, that's it. Thank you very much for your attention. And maybe you have some questions right now. Yeah. And of course, I did longer than planned, but that was to be expected, right?